Hello, hello, hello. Hey, 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 hey. I'm having mic issues, I think. Can you hear me? I'm not hearing me. Oh, let's try plugging it in. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Loud and clear? Can you hear me loud and clear now? Can you hear me okay now? Okay. Now then, to figure out how to get this thing closer. Woo. I want it up here. There. I don't like it there. Definitely don't like it there. See up my nose? It's the light. I'm telling you. I haven't done anything to my hair. It needs colored again. It's lost all its color. My boobs don't look so big either. It's one of those. Can you see it in my, see the camera? My eye. Let's see. What do I have that I can use to put this thing up here where I need it to be? Ingenuity. I'll just see all my zits. Ugh. Still too far. I need it this high, right about here. Can you still hear me okay? What about there? What about that? At least you can see my true hair color now. What time is it? 8 o'clock. Okay, I'll just leave this on there then. The guys are here to. I got a guy coming tonight. The same guy that came and got Iron Man and Thor. He's coming to get a bunch of the chicks tonight. And I got Doofus next door going out there to watch because Big Daddy won't. Okay. See, I knew it would make a huge difference, but I need to try to figure out how to zoom in because I would rather have it back up there, only zoom in. I have like 30 chicks and more on nest. So yeah, I need some. Is that better? Yes, better. I like that better. I don't feel like I'm looking, at least I kind of look like I'm looking at the camera. Oh, that would be the selfie. That would be the selfie light. It does that. Okay, so go to beginning and need to settings, device options. No, back. Options maybe. And back. I mean, I have to look over the camera because you guys can't see the camera. I have to look over the camera to see the screen, but at least it looks better than it did. So, okay. Now then, let's try something here. Needs music, I hope. YouTube music. Alright. Okay, so we're going to do something different for music. Because I can. Yeah, I didn't think about when I had it there how much it was going to show everything else. I really just needed to show me. He's all right, though. We got it. I think we need some jazz on here tonight. Can you hear the music? Okay, good. Because it's actually sitting behind the microphone, so I wasn't sure how that was going to work. In case you want to see. This is my mic. Had to. I just had to get me a good mic. I mean, but I can tell I'm going to have to clean my room. Whew. Okay. Where's everybody at? Looking to see if I can zoom this camera in any. That was a little loud. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this started because I don't know what's going on outside. I thought I heard a car and dogs and is that loud? Because this sounds loud to me. Okay, we're going ahead because I put it up there just like I normally would because I didn't know how much time I would have for it to take effect. So we're going to go ahead with it. So it's called Itsy Bitsy Widow. And it's one of the Hills. Oh, crap. How did I get way up there? Go to cover. Okay, Itsy Bitsy Whittle by Annelise Reynolds, and it's volume 13 in the Hills, Rhymes, and Nursery Crimes. Yeah, I knew it was something like that, but I can never remember what it's like. Exactly. So you better make sure you tip me good, girl. Yeah, mama. It looks like you're the only one showing up tonight. Good thing you were helping me out with it, huh? I'm getting that audiobook vibe bug again where I want to do audiobooks. Okay. So I watched him from the shadows as he grabbed the dancer's ass while she gave him a lap dance. Speaking of, she smiled and encouraged the groping like she enjoyed it, but she didn't know the man petting her. She didn't know the man petting her up as she ground down on him to the beat of the music. She didn't know he wrecked people's lives, but would she even care? Okay, I'm going to have to take my glasses off for this, I think. There's a glare with my readers. Lord, that don't help. Yeah, that's the problem with this light is it glares. Look at this. Probably not, as he slid another bill into the tiny strings, barely holding together what little clothing she had on. I love these books. These books are just good. I went ahead and bought all 13 of them today. I already had 2, and they're only 99 cents a piece. So the 11 was like 10 something for the rest of them. So the rage I've held on to for 2 years while I finished school. A promise I made to Aunt Celeste. There we go. A promise I made to Aunt Celeste before she died boiled deep in my belly. It was a sickness that was festered since Daphne's death, and a vicious poison that ran through my blood until I buried my aunt beside her daughter. Aunt Celeste was never the same after Daphne, and her death baffled the doctors. But I wasn't. She died of a broken heart, and I was left alone. I finished my last year of college, barely, but I got the diploma, which I immediately burned. Still with me? You need to get my attention. You might want to put an emoji up there because I probably won't see you otherwise. And I'll let you handle the greetings when people come in. It was worthless to me. Years spent and money wasted because I had no intention of using it for anything anymore. Instead, I spent the last few years of school nurturing this hate and anger inside of me. It was finally time for me to take my revenge and ease the rage that's been building for far too long. When the music shifted and changed, the dancer moved away from my prey. Once she was on her next client, I made my move. Sliding from my booth in the shadows, I moved toward the man that I was going to destroy, just like he helped destroy my family. Well, hello to you too, he grinned when I slid into his lap without invitation. I smiled and leaned close as I felt his hands caress my body. While the rest of the girls were mostly underdressed, I had a micro skirt on with a sexy top that both hid and showed my body off at the same time. The boots were what made the outfit, though. I had on thigh-high boots that hugged my legs, but they served another purpose too. They hid the small vial that I was about to tip into his drink. Did you get all excited? I whispered into his ear. Yeah, but so do you, baby. Oh, did she get you all excited? I whispered into his ear. Yes, but so do you, baby. Are you going to dance for me? He held up a 20 and I slipped it from his fingers. I'm not a dancer. I work in another related business. I smiled coyly at him, leaving him with no doubt that I was a hooker, looking for a John. Hey, Miss Shirley. I told you you would. Oh, when it gets better, sister. I read about 3 chapters already. His hand slid up the exposed part of my thigh, but I hissed at him and stopped his hand before it could reach the juncture of my thighs. I leaned in close again and trained my hand down his chest before grabbing his hand and pulling it away. We need to talk money first, baby, I pouted at him. My pussy isn't cheap. Hey, a voice interrupted us. You're not supposed to work in here, sweetheart. You're taking money from my girls. The heavy-set owner came over, pissed off that I was entertaining one of his customers. I'm his wife, I sent the owner a smile. We're spicing things up a little. The man holding me agreed, and that satisfied the owner. Once he walked away, I looked back at the man holding on to me. So, husband, I exaggerated the word and eliciting a grin from him. Are you ready? Fuck yeah. He pumped his hips beneath mine, and I could feel the hardness of his cock under me. His dick would be the death of him, and he didn't even know it yet. Miss Fancy, what you think of the new setup? Or Miss Shirley, sorry, Miss Fancy. Miss Shirley, what you think of the new setup? I cupped his face with my left hand, bringing his lips closer to mine as if I was about to kiss him. It was all the distraction I needed. He was focused on our mingling breath as I slipped the vial from my boot and tipped it into his half-full scotch. He was so keyed up and ready to rut. The bastard would never see it coming. Finish your drink and I'll meet you outside. I got up from his lap and gave his dick an affectionate squeeze through his khakis. He downed the rest of his drink and I smiled as I walked away. Tyler Davis was dead before I made it to the car, and I was long gone before anyone knew. 1 down, 3 more to go. Hey, Yori. Chapter 1. My heart stopped the first time the sheriff's car pulled into the driveway next to mine. When I realized he lived there, I relaxed a little. It was just my luck that the man that could catch me and put me away lived in the house next door. Hey, neighbor. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, neighbor. I looked up from the town newspaper I was reading to see the sheriff coming out of his door in a pair of running shorts and a t-shirt. His big dog was on a leash, vibrating with excitement because they were on their way out for a run. Hi, I said cautiously, giving him a small smile. I leaned down to pet the dog when he started sniffing at me. Hey there, handsome. The dog gets a better greeting than me. I can't take him anywhere. His voice was laced with humor, and I felt my cheeks pinken with embarrassment. What's his name? I asked, trying to change the subject. Badger. Hey, boy. I smiled as I petted him. He rewarded me with a playful lick. I always thought that dogs could see into someone's soul. They could read people better than any human. I took the fact that this dog wasn't running from me or attacking me as a tell that even though there was blood on my hands, and there would be more, that deep down, I wasn't a danger to anyone who didn't deserve it. That underneath it all, I was still a good person. He's adorable. I stood up and he rubbed against my legs. Thanks. So, you're new in town? Are you going to the university? No, just looking for a change of pace. I can understand that. Welcome to Eagle Wind. He paused, waiting for me to fill in my name. Rain. I swallowed, hard against the nerves of telling him my name. Pretty name. I'm Sheriff Dax Winchester. He held out his hand for me to take. I hesitated for a moment before letting his strong, firm hand close around mine. It was electric, like nothing I'd ever felt before. I pulled away from his grasp quickly and nervously tucked the hair behind my ears, avoiding eye contact with him. He made me feel something dangerous. I need to go. It was nice meeting you, I said, turning to walk back into my new home. I shut the door and leaned against it, waiting for my heart rate to settle. I'd killed a man and would again, but my heart didn't race the way it did in the presence of Dax Winchester. I was more nervous shaking hands with my new neighbor than slipping poison into the drink of one of the men that destroyed my family. Sheriff Winchester was a temptation and a complication. Getting close to him would be like playing with fire, but he drew me to him like a moth to the damn flame. Chapter 2. I took a job in the local diner. The money was shit, but it gave me the opportunity to get the lay of the town and the people in it, especially the officials, since it was right across the street from the courthouse and city hall. Being the last surviving member of my family meant that their estate all went to me. My parents, who had died when I was 13 in a car accident, had left life insurance. Money wasn't as important as being able to have part-time flexible hours that helped me be in a close proximity to what went on in the city. People tended to ignore servers. People tend to ignore servers when they are talking across the table. After being at the diner for just over a week, I had regulars that came in, including my neighbor. He was one of the few that walked through the door and didn't ignore me. His eyes seemed to follow me around the room, and there was this look on his face that gave me chills, like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. When our eyes met, I felt vulnerable and exposed. Rain, his temper was deep and soothing. Sheriff, I said, placing his coffee in front of him. I never called him Dax, even though he asked me to. If I called him Sheriff, it kept him in a mental box that had do not disturb written all over it. What can I get for you? Business as usual, I see. He grinned up at me before ordering a breakfast plate. I was about to take his menu, but he held it fast until I let our gazes meet. You could let your guard down just a little. I shook my head. Not with you. I gave him a small, sardonic smile. If I gave you an inch, you'd take a mile, Sheriff. Tell me I'm wrong. He laughed and my belly tightened with a need and hunger that I was having a harder time denying each time I saw him. You're not wrong, Ray. I took the menu from him and moved to put his order in. I grabbed the coffee pot and started making my way around the diner, refilling coffee. I was mid-pour when one of the names on my list came through the door. I knew him better than he knew himself, probably. I've come through his social media posts and watched him from the shadows over the last few weeks. When I wasn't at home, I was lurking and waiting for the right moment to take him out. His number wasn't up yet, though. There was one more in front of him that I'd be dealing with tonight. Professor Brant Griffith, number 2 on my list. He was a creature of habit, which made him easy prey. Every morning he left the house at 7 on the dot. He had classes at 8:30, 10, 1, and 2:30. His students seemed to like him, and why wouldn't they? From his ratings online, the girls found him hot, and overall, he was an easy professor giving students reviews that gave them test questions verbatim. Brant Griffith wasn't married, and that was a good thing since he had an ongoing thing with a couple of different students, none of whom knew about each other. He rotated meeting the girls in the next town over a few nights a week. Tonight was student number three's night, and the perfect opportunity for me to get in his house. There was no alarm, and the professor's house was in a quiet neighborhood, one that people would be able to see if someone who didn't belong. Lucky for me, though, his house was at the back of the neighborhood, which met up with the city park. It was 9:30. The park was closed and darkened, but I'd been running there since I moved here, so I knew the route like the back of my hand. I knew which house was his and took note each night when I ran just at dusk or dawn. My car was parked at the local superstore a block away. It was time. There were a few lights coming from the houses surrounding his, but I hid in the tree, my beanie pulled low over my brow. I'd scoped this area so many times, watching the neighbors as much as I'd watched the man himself. The couple on the right were always fighting. Their kids were in bed by 8, and that's when they couldn't stand to be in each other's company. The man would be sleeping on the couch with the TV turned on, and the wife would be in their bed. Like clockwork, the light in the living room went off, and the low flicker of the TV light in the living room cast shadows on the curtains. The couple on the other side was an older couple. Their kids were grown, and they were already sleeping. Their house was dim, except for the faint glow of the lights they left on inside. All was quiet. Silently, I hopped the fence into the professor's backyard. My head was ducked low, and I stayed crouched down as I moved across the yard. I had about an hour before he returned from his banging session with student number 3. I easily got through the back door and into his modest home. It was too easy. He might as well not have locked the door for all the good it did him. My gloves made sure my prints weren't left behind, and my hat hid my hairline. My hat hid my hair and kept any stray strands from falling. I moved quickly and quietly through the house, using the faint light of my burner phone. When I got to the master bedroom, I found his bed unmade and wrinkled. Clothes were thrown haphazardly in the corner near a bin, but not inside, and the furnishings looked distinctly masculine. Everything was quiet. I grabbed the spray bottle I brought with me and misted his bedding. I switched on the fan overhead to help it dry quicker. As I made my way into the bathroom, after a quick look in the medicine cabinet, I found what I was looking for. I took his EpiPens and moved them into a shoebox in the closet, then grabbed all of his allergy medications and emptied them into the toilet, flushing them away. Brant Griffith was highly allergic to nuts. His bedding was now laced with a light coating of peanut oil that he'd be breathing in all night long. If he caught the scent when he laid down, it would be too late. His medications were gone, and his emergency EpiPens were in a place he'd never looked. I took the time I had to go through his side drawer. Luckily, I found another EpiPen hiding there. I wanted him to have no way to escape. He would die slowly, a little at a time, while his throat swelled closed. On my way out, I turned the modem to his internet and home phone off, just slightly disconnecting the wires. The only thing I had to worry about was a cell phone, so I went into the laundry room and hid a low-powered cell phone jammer inside a box of powdered laundry detergent. The signal would be blocked from within the house, but not much further. By morning, I'd have the second name marked off my list. Chapter 3. How's Badger? I shouldn't be provoking conversation with the sheriff next door. But God, I couldn't help myself. Dax gave me a tired grin. Probably pissed I haven't taken him on his run yet. You look tired, Sheriff. I let my eyes run over his body. He was still in uniform, though. His shirt was untucked, and his utility belt was slung over his shoulder. The metal from his cuffs glinted in the fading sunlight at me. It was sobering to see them there. Long day, he responded with a shrug of his shoulder. If Badger would let me, I could take him on a walk for you, I offered with a light shrug. Dax stopped and studied me for a second before he gave me a playful grin. I'm beginning to think the way to your heart is through my dog ring. I leaned my head back on the headrest of my rocking chair and sighed. My heart isn't worth trying to get into anyway, Sheriff. Don't think it's more than it is. I've never had a dog to walk, and you look like you need a shower, food, and sleep, not necessarily in that order. I was just trying to help and get a small piece of a life I've never had by walking a sweet dog. That's all. Trust me, I'm not worth your time or effort. I watched from the corner of my eye as he ran his fingers through his hair and scratched at the day's stubble that covered his jaw. How about you walk Badger with me? It's been a rough day and I could use the company. Hey, Quinn. How are you, darling? She's a conniving bitch, is what she is. I like her. Gives me ideas. It was reckless to engage the man, but a part of me, the small part of me that was still alive deep inside, couldn't say no to him. He was a brief glimpse of normalcy, an image of what I knew could never be. My path was set. There was no going back from the road I was on. But maybe there was a small glimmer of light along the way, like Dax and Badger. Okay, I whispered around a knot in my throat. I knew I shouldn't tempt fate. My words would be guarded, and I would have to give him just enough to satisfy his curiosity about me. Not enough to hang myself and end up with iron bracelets. Not yet, at least. Dax entered his home, and I could hear the happy barks from Badger as he greeted him at the door. From the seat on my porch, he was gone a few minutes and came back out wearing a pair of basketball shorts, a t-shirt, and running shoes. He changed for a walk, and Badger was happy on his leash, ready to take off running at the first sign of clearance from his owner. He looks happy. I smiled, getting up from my seat, and moved toward the happy duo. When I got close, Badger greeted me with his excitement, jumping and putting his paws on my belly. Standing on his hind legs, his head reached my chin, and I loved him for it. Hey, buddy, you ready to go play? I pet him and rubbed his ears, greeting him with affection and putting a kiss on his head. My eyes met Dax's over Badger's head. He had a soft grin on his face, but he looked away and muttered under his breath. I swore he said something about being jealous of his dog, and I hid my smile and stepped away from the excited pup. May I asked, holding out my hand for the leash. He's strong, Dax warned as he handed me the lead. I think I can manage, but if not, I know the owner. I gave him a flirtatious, light-hearted wink, and took the leap from his grasp. Our fingers brushed and electricity zinged between us. He set off walking down our street. A few people waved at Dax and looked at me curiously. The ones that did wave called out, and he responded with each of their names. Nobody knew me, and I was okay with that. Hell, I never even would have known Dax if the man wasn't the sheriff and didn't live right next door to me. So, why haven't you ever had a dog? He finally broke the silence when he reached the stop sign at the end of the road. Badger took his time inspecting it before lifting his leg and peeing on the grass around it. I don't know, honestly. Guess it was just never in the cards for me. My parents died when I was young, and I lived with my aunt, who was a single mom herself. I gave him the basics of my background without going into full detail. I'm sorry to hear that. Having a dog as a kid is a lot of fun. You get all the good without any of the responsibility. I let out a soft chuckle. Isn't that how it is for most children? Everything good in life without the responsibility that comes with being an adult. If you're lucky, he shrugged. I was lucky, but some aren't. Some kids have to grow up way too soon. I'll agree to that, I said, stamping down the ice and panic that tried to flood through my veins. Did you grow up here? I knew the answer. I'd done my research on my sexy neighbor when I found out that the town sheriff lived right next door. You know what they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. While Dax wasn't exactly my enemy, yet one day he would be. There would be a blue line separating us, him on the right side of the law and me on the side of the lowly criminals. He'd have no choice but to hunt me down, and I'd have no choice but to let him. Yes, I was going to leave once upon a time, but fate intervened. I guess it thought I needed to stay. What happened? I asked as Badger pulled me along to the next stop on his marking every inch of territory he could path. It was kind of comical. I didn't realize dogs had such a big bladder. I was playing football and blew out my arm before I could go pro. He shrugged like it was nothing, but to an athlete, I knew it wasn't nothing. That sucks, I murmured. I knew exactly what it was like to have the world ripped out from under you unexpectedly. His was physically taken from him. Mine was an emotional tsunami that tipped my world over and turned me into what I am. Yeah, life happens though. He shrugged again. I'm not unhappy being sheriff, but it wasn't my first choice for the path I wanted to take. Hey, Annelise, this book is so good. You can always change your path. Ironic coming from me. But Dax had options I didn't. He didn't have blood on his hands and a vendetta to make right. It was his doing. So it wasn't. If he wasn't doing something that made him happy, then he could find something that did. If you weren't sheriff, what would you do? He gave me that half sexy, cocky grin that I liked so much. You mean if I'm not playing ball or being sheriff? I rolled my eyes at him. Yes. What would be your first obtainable option? Before I signed on as sheriff, I thought about being a coach for the high school football team, but they weren't hiring. Did you look outside of Inglewind? No, not really. He laughed at himself. You gave up too easy. What about you? He asked. I know you don't want to be a serv. I know you don't want to be serving coffee forever. I shook my head. Forever's not really an option for me, so for now it will do. I wished I could take it back the second I said it, but he slipped in and I let my guard down. Are you sick? I'm not ready to talk about it, Sheriff. I lied, letting him believe that I was sick. In a way, I was sick. Not many people can plan out and execute a kill. Most people, good people, don't have the stomach for something like that. But I was fueled by a rage so deep I could barely contain it. Rain. I shook my head and cut him off. No, I said as I thrust the leash into his hand and took off running back home. Back to the safety of the shadows and the web of lies my life had become. Miss Surly getting her sheriff throne. You been a bad girl, Miss Surly, huh? You been a bad girl. She's wanting some punishment from the sheriff. Chapter 4. I avoided Dax for the next week, but I watched him coming and going from the safety of my house. A few times I thought he saw me lurking in the window upstairs, watching as he left in the morning or came home in the evening. He would look toward my house like he wanted to come over, but didn't know whether or not he should. Part of me wanted him to, but I knew it was better if he didn't. I was already starting to feel attached to him. He drew me in with his cocky, flirtatious grin. Dax Winchester was charming and good. The darkness that dwelled in me longed for the lightness he offered. I couldn't trap him. I couldn't bring him down with me because there was nowhere else for me to go. I sighed and looked at the empty house around me. I didn't have much furniture. I didn't need it. I had 6 months left in this house. No more than that. It was almost time for me to take down my third target. He was the riskiest of my victims because he was the one most often surrounded by people who weren't drunk, and by now he was aware that the two men he had crossed a line with were both murdered. Chad Phillips was mayor of Eaglewood, Washington. Getting in to have a meeting with him put a record of your visit on the books, so that was out. I needed to get to him another way, but he wasn't like Tyler, visiting seedy strip joints and cheating on his wife. He wasn't like Brant. His schedule varied from day to day. He went home to his family each night, and he had no deadly allergies I could exploit to end his life. As far as I could tell, Chad Phillips was a decent husband and father. Too bad he made the fatal mistake when he joined up with his friends and gang raped my cousin. They were responsible for sending her to drugs and alcohol before she ended it all. She hated herself and couldn't live with the memories of what they'd done to her anymore. I know. I opened the suicide letter she'd dropped into the mail before she pulled the trigger. She had sent it to me telling me everything. There were splotches of bleeding ink from where her tears fell as she wrote her final words. They destroyed Daphne. She was a beautiful soul. Is that too bright now? Ooh, that is too bright. There. 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. Turn this light on over here and see if that helps. Kind of helps, don't it? Oh. 2. Okay. They destroyed Daphne. She was a beautiful soul before she left for school. When she came home to Southern Cali, she was a changed person. She no longer cared about school. All she wanted was to get drunk. Eventually, the alcohol turned into drugs, and Daphne turned into a shell of the person she was before. My best friend was gone, and I had no idea why until after I received her letter in the mail. This is a sweet story. Well, not sweet. Oh, it looks like it's going to storm again. I don't think they got here with chickens yet. I thought they did, but I don't reckon they did. I had people coming to get some chicks, and I don't know if they showed up or not. Let's see. After Aunt Celeste died, I was all that was left. My family tree was down to a single stump, me. There was no blooming from that. The only thing that kept me going was the rage and anger I felt toward the men that destroyed my family. With each name I marked off my list, I felt a little lighter and a little darker at the same time. Everything about my life was a lie. I lived for the sole purpose of righting the wrong that led to the death of what was left of my family. The doctor said Aunt Annelise had a heart attack, but I know she was never the same after Daphne. She died of a broken heart, and I'd see to it if it was the last thing I did, that Chad Phillips and his father both paid for the part they played in the death of my family. You've been avoiding me. I looked up to see Dax getting out of his personal truck. I have, I admitted. There was no use in denying something so blaringly obvious. I made sure I wasn't outside when he came home from or left for work until now. Over a week has passed since our walk with Badger. Why'd you run? He leaned against the side of his truck as we talked. You know why? I answered softly, my dark eyes meeting his hazel ones. You're sick. He said it like it was a matter of a fact. What do you have? Nothing that can be cured, I replied. Sick was relative. To someone who couldn't fathom taking the life of another human being, then yeah, I was sick. How long do you have? He swallowed hard, emotions playing across his face. I shrugged. It doesn't matter, Dax. I'm not worth losing sleep over. I'm not worth getting attached to. I hate that you feel that way. I leaned my head back, closed my eyes, and died a little inside. Why hadn't I met him before? Why hadn't Daphne met him when she'd been up here? I could have accepted anything, even them getting married, if it brought her back and made him happy. He was a genuinely good guy, and I was caught in a dangerous game of lies, deceit, and death. There was no room in my life for a good guy, which made me feel the shit for trying to use him to get close to the mayor. But the Eagle Wind Wine and Dine charity event was the best shot I had at getting close to the mayor without detection. I felt bad for lying to him, bad that I had to use him and let him believe the worst. My future was death by fate, not circumstance I created with my own insatiable anger. Killing the men on my list didn't faze me. They were evil and deserved what they got. But lying to and using Dax made me feel shame and regret, and it made me wish for a different life. The event was held every year at the Wild Wind Country Club, and the town's upper crest attended. I'd seen pictures of Dax in a tuxedo when doing my research on the previous year's event. If that man was hot in his uniform and street clothes, he was devastating in his tux. Get ready, Miss Shirley. He rubbed shoulders with a few people I recognized from my sporadic shifts at the diner, including the mayor himself. They didn't seem to be friends, though. Not from the gossip I'd been able to pick up from around town and the research I'd done into the mayor and Dax himself. The mayor's wife was once Dax's fiancée, but shortly after his football chances ended, she ended the relationship. The stupid woman had no idea what she'd given up with Dax, all for a man that had taken the innocence and life from a young girl because she'd ended up at the wrong party they happened to be attending. She was an opportunity. No, there was no love lost between the mayor and Dax. Their cordial relationship was superficial at best, but they were both public figures in the community, and that ensured they needed to work together. Life sucks sometimes. That it does. He gave me a rueful smile. It's a nice night. I was going to fire up the grill and throw on some steaks. You want to join me? I swallowed hard at the line that I was about to cross with this man. It depends, I said softly, playing the part of the scared girl I used to be. On what? You? No strings, Sheriff. If anything happens when I walk through that door with you, there can be no strings because we have no future. I need you to know that. It's chapter 5, and this book ain't very long, so I'm going to stop there. Because I don't want to give away too much. There's only 8 chapters and a prologue or epilogue in it. So I need you guys to go get this book. It is only 99 cents. You hear me, Miss Shirley? 99 cents. You go get this book, girl. It is going to be good. And you could have the rest of it read by the end of the night. I mean, come on. Miss Shirley, It's only $7.50 where you're at. You go get this book. I know, Bitsy, and you love me for it, sister. So, you guys like the new camera? I got to work on this some more and see. See if I can get it to zoom in because it's not doing what I want it to do exactly. But, I mean, it works for tonight anyway. I love these quickies and goodies. Ori, you got so many men, you ain't got time for no sheriff, honey. You just leave the sheriff to Miss Shirley, and you just go on and find your others. Besides, the sheriff's too good for you, sister. Psst. I know, Quinn. I've read the Designer Assassin. And I went back in and I got another one. I don't remember what other one I got. When I went in to get this book, it was like less than $11 for the other 11. So I just got them all. I mean, keeping me from buying something stupid. Like a squeezy peach. I mean, who don't need a squeezy peach? It looks like a boob from the bottom and an ass from the back. Yeah, everybody needs a peach. Thank you. All right. Now then, tomorrow night, I need you guys to come back for Julie LaFrance. She will be here tomorrow night. And she is reading, I got it today. Let's see. Missing Links, Soldiers of the Legends, MC Book 1. And it is a shifter book. So I need you guys to get back here tomorrow night. To listen to me read that one. And maybe I'll have this camera thing figured out by then so that I'm not looking up, like I'm looking up the ceiling or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out, though. All right, everybody. You guys have a great evening and come back tomorrow night. All right? Happy reading.